All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Everything You Need to Know About the Top Soccer Program. My name is Jared White. I'm the Director of Communications for the Florida Youth Soccer Association. And tonight we have a full panel of top soccer experts that are going to be talking to you about the program, getting to know the changes and other activities affiliated with the program. So just as a disclaimer, to let you guys know, a few of us will be working in the background from the FYSA staff. We have Joel Dragan, the Executive Director, Jonathan Spradley, our Event Coordinator. So if you have any questions, please refer to the question box that you may see on the right or left side of your screen. There is a hand option if you have any questions as well. Please feel free to raise it and we will address those as they come in. You will not be able to share your webcam as this is a webinar platform only. So please feel free to use the mic feature when available, and we will address any questions towards the middle or end. At this time, please note that we are recording this session and it will be shared with members via YouTube within the next year. So that way we can update the program and let everyone know what's happening. At this time, please welcome Dave Robinson and his team. And Dave, by all means, take it forward, my friend.
Thanks, Jared, appreciate it. And thank you to everyone attending the webinar tonight. I'm pleased to present everything you need to know about the Top Soccer program. There will certainly be things that you may want to know that I don't address, in which case, please feel free to put them in the chat. We've got about an hour's worth of slides here. I'll be joined by a couple other presenters on our Top Soccer Committee, and for that, we'll plow ahead here. So the agenda will start off with some basic topics for clubs that may be new to Top Soccer. There will be advanced topics for clubs that will may have existing Top Soccer programs, so things to remind them about for the future. And then certainly a topic that is on all of ours mind is COVID-19 and safety and what that means for our Top Soccer programs and our kids and our community. And of course, yes, there will be audience participation in the event. So some housekeeping coming up. If it hasn't been done already, please mute your microphone. As Jared announced, the session is being recorded. A link to the YouTube will be sent to all the clubs after it's posted. And also, I will also make available the slides that you're seeing to all clubs and anyone else that wants to share them, as well as some of the resources I referenced later on in the slide deck. If you've got questions, something's not clear, you want us to delve into further detail, please put them in the chat, and I'll be relying on Jared and Jonathan to prompt me with those questions because I will not be able to see them directly. Also, if you have a dying desire to get the slides ASAP, just put an email in the chat, and again, I'll get that information from Jared and Jonathan. So let's start right away with a poll question, just for some demographics. I believe, Jonathan, you can set out something where a poll dialog box will drop up on the screen. Here we go.
Yeah, so I just launched it. Everybody should be able to see that now.
Awesome. So I just want to get a sense of people and where they're coming from. Are you attending tonight with an existing Top Soccer program? Do you want to start a new Top Soccer program, or is it just kind of background information? So please take a moment to select item 1, item 2, or item 3. And then, Jonathan, let's give him about 10 more seconds. And if possible, can you share that on the screen somehow?
Yeah, so whenever the poll is done, I'll go ahead and close it, and it should bring it back. No, I'll close it whenever we're done.
Okay. And really just give me the if you can give me the numbers, I can write them down on my sheet here so I get a sense of where to kind of tilt the conversation.
So right now we're at 83% is that I'm associated with existing Top Soccer programs. 17% I am actively interested in starting a new Top Soccer program. All
right, awesome. That's a really great turnout. Thank you, everybody, for doing that. Okay, I'm gonna cruise ahead here, knowing that most of the attendees are with existing Top Soccer programs, but a good portion are also interested in starting a new Top Soccer program as well. All right, so Florida is a unique environment where it seems like we've got, 4 or 5 different climates and 4 regions of the state from an FYSA perspective. And to support that, we've got a Florida Youth Soccer TopSoccer Committee that extends from basically Region A South up to the Panhandle and Region D. And these are the names of the contacts that you're going to want to have in your speed dial when you've got questions about anything to do with TopSoccer. Certainly, I'm the chair of the committee. That chair expires this coming AGM, and I will not be resuming or returning in that capacity. I'll be kind of delegating myself to a Region C South role. But again, please get to know your regional representative, and they will be a great resource for you moving forward. So starting on the basic topic. So again, this is more focused on the new interested party with TopSoccer. So basically, this mission statement, it kind of describes what TopSoccer is all about. We talk about intellectual, emotional, or physical disabilities. There's no need to have proof of that for players who sign up on your program. I know some clubs require to see the person's school-based individual educational plan, or IEP, but really there's no state requirement to prove that a child has one of these disabilities. It's really kind of self-selected. Really, we talk about being a fun, safe, supportive, and inclusive environment is really what TopSoccer is all about. From a current, snapshot perspective, these are the soccer clubs in regions A and B that currently offer TopSoccer. So again, we're going from Boca Raton up until Florida Elite up in Jacksonville area, Jacksonville Armada. We go as far west as Gainesville. And again, some of the soccer clubs that, if you're nearby one of these soccer clubs and you want to start a program, I would totally recommend reaching out to them, again, through your regional rep, and we'll put you in touch with them to see what they're doing and learn some things so that you're not going through it blind. Here is the list of programs in regions C and D. Similarly, we go from down Cape Coral all the way up north to Tallahassee. We do have an underrepresentation currently in the Pensacola area, and we're hoping to get that rectified here in the coming years. But we have great representation in Region C and the lone holdout there in Region D at Tallahassee. So, just for the new person, some of the terminology that we use, the language, if you will, of TopSoccer, and this was taught to me many years ago by a gentleman who was recently enshrined in the Florida Youth Soccer Hall of Fame, named Dean Frost, and he always said, refer to your players as athletes. That's what they want to be. That's what they're out there doing. They're athletes. Your volunteers primarily are buddies, and the buddies are assigned to an athlete one-on-one typically. And then coaches who lead the activities in the daily program and organize scrimmages, they can also be youth volunteers. While they may be an adult, they may be a rec or competitive coach, but they can also be buddies who have been buddies for a couple, 2-3 years, who are ready to take it up to the next level. And then parents, and somewhat uniquely here too, is we don't want the parents to be involved to be a buddy volunteer. This is their time to sit in the sideline, just kind of be a soccer mom, be a soccer dad, talk to their peers, talk to other parents, hopefully not screaming and yelling at their kids to pass the ball or run or shoot or whatever. That's just to have a good time. And that's one of the nice things about TopSoccer is lets parents just be parents. So those are some of the language points of TopSoccer. So I'm going to pass the baton here to Mark Lowenberg, one of our committee members. And I believe you're off of mute. Mark, do you want to drive or just want me to do the screens?
Sounds good. So we could start with what you've got here. Can everything good?
Yep.
Okay. So when we get our whole season going, we'll just talk about the actual, how we get things going for our season. We meet normally about a month ahead of time, get our team together. We talk about how we're going to get our buddies set up and all lined up and get them all registered. Then we talk about how we're going to work with getting our players. And we have a ongoing email list that we keep hitting up with these people, get them all registered. So we have our buddy list all set up, and then we get our player list set up. And then before the season, 2 or 3 weeks before it, we get our team together and we start pairing up the buddies and the players. Again, some of them are new, so we may not know them yet, but a lot of them, they like using the same buddies, the same players, etc. So we'll pair them all up and get them all set up in our spreadsheets so that when we get to the season, we can get rolling. The day or 2 days before the season starts, we do buddy orientation, and this is required for all of our buddies, regardless of how many years they do it. It's more of a refresher course, usually takes about an hour, and we'll go through coach talking. We have our, we've got a therapist that actually helps out, and he explains, what do you do out here? Because all these buddies, they're not therapists, and we don't expect them to be, but we do expect them to at least learn and be able to talk with their players or their athletes and make sure that it's a fun environment for everybody. So we do that during our buddy sessions so that when they're out in the fields, the buddy has a little bit more understanding of what they're going to be dealing with. We also have a player meeting for the same reason, and usually that's going to be the new players' parents, so we can educate them on, what's going on this season. This is what we do during each session. Please make sure that your player is hydrated and has their food and they're all set and they're excited about the session. Plus, we educate them on, what happens for restroom breaks, what happens when we drop them off, and how we expect the player or the parents to stay off to the side. Their job is to be observers, as you mentioned. So the first day that we have the season, we have our buddies show up usually about 45 minutes ahead of time, and we have them all in one area, and they are the ones that are cheering the players as they arrive. So the players arrive, they check in, buddies are already there, we pair them up, and we send them off to the relevant field that they're going to be on. And we've got it broken out by age group. So, if you're the older kiddos, you go to field 4. If you're the younger kiddos, maybe it's field 1 or 2, etc. And at that point, coaches are on the field and they can kind of get them a little warmed up. And we do ours at 6 o'clock. So at 6:05, all the players are usually with their buddies and they're usually on the fields, and we start the sessions. The coaches are responsible for each field, and the coaches will get them rolling with some exercises. They usually get into a big circle, do some fun exercises, and then they break into 2 groups, and those 2 groups go to opposite corners and they go into the drill section. So, they've done their warm-ups. Now we get into our activities, and we do an activity that usually is between 8 to 10 minutes long, and then we rotate to the other corners and we do another activity that's usually 8 to 10 minutes long. And then, it's hot and time to drink. So at that point, we bring everybody together in the center. We have drink time, where normally we hand out little 8-inch bottles of drinks, and the buddies and the players are still required to be together during this time. One of our biggest educational pieces is whenever your player's there, you're talking to your player. Now, if you want to get a group of 4 together, of 2 players and 2 buddies, that's great, as long as everybody's engaged. We're fine with that. At that point, our coaches can do some fun stuff. Sometimes they do talent shows. Sometimes they just do some, songs. We play Duck, Duck, Goose, and we have a variety of different things. And again, that's a break of about 10 minutes as well. After that, they break into their 2 groups, go to the other corners and do a couple more drills, break into another group, do another set of drills. So we've done 4 drills through this program. Usually lasts about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes to get there. Come back into another water break, because again, they've been out there for almost 20 minutes again. Same thing, coaches have the right to do whatever they want to do. So again, the games, the fun, we have a lot of fun with that. The coaches get very creative with what they do. Sometimes it's, let's sing a song, let's do this. But and some kids want to just kick and dribble and show their dribbling skills. That's cool too. So we let them do that. After that, the buddies are clearing the fields of all the equipment, and then we go into basically a game time. On the little kids level, not really games going on, but they still have a lot of fun dribbling and kicking back and forth. And we have them kick into the goals. And again, a lot of this is about socialization. So the buddies and the players are talking this whole time. And parents love to see their kids with a friend out there. On the older fields, we actually do play games. And, that's where the buddies are off the field and they're almost, they're on the outside of the field keeping the ball basically in play, and the players are inside and the coaches are inside. And, the goal is to make sure that everybody at least gets some touches on the ball there. After that, we all bring them all together. They do a rah-rah cheer. And then the buddy's job is to bring the player back to the parent before they sign off, and also educate the parent on what was the good, what was the challenges they had during that session. And then they hand them off. And at that point, we're pretty much done with our evening. And it usually takes about an hour and a half for us to roll through a whole session. So that's there. So that's scrimmages. The celebration, we do a couple different celebrations each year. Definitely on the first night, we have all these flags that we put up there. And when the players are coming in, again, the buddies are all cheering for everybody. We do a picture night, usually the third or fourth session. And for that, we hire characters to show up, like, Batman and Spider-Man and Superman. And the kids absolutely love that. And getting their picture taken with a character. And then we do the big group photo with everybody. And then from there, they go back and they still have a regular session. At the end of the year, again, we do the same thing. Let's have at least a half a session, and we have trophies and awards. And you can give these kids pretty much anything and they're going to be thrilled. But we try to focus on a nice little trophy that's out there. We do the pictures. We give out free pictures for the families as well. Some of the clubs actually will have a big sit-down meal, which is incredible. If you can pull that kind of thing off, that's cool too. For us, it fits that we just do pizza, cookies, drinks, and snow cones. That's our big thing for the moment. That's pretty much how we run our sessions. Our seasons usually run about 8 to 10 seasons, depending on the weather, and we do it in the fall and the spring.
When we show the video, Mark?
Sure.
All right, here we go. So Mark did a phenomenal job putting together a video here. The audio doesn't work
That's
live.
fine. You can move it, and I'll talk our way through it.
Mark will annotate it. Here we go. So let's go back to the beginning. Have at it, Mark.
Sure. And it's only 4 minutes, so it's not too bad. But basically, this is one of the drills that we set up for folks. My son is the cameraman, so it might be a little jittery. And the point of this drill, and what I'm doing is I'm washing my hands, because every session nowadays, we're going to get into the hand washing. We teach them do the washing. We're wearing masks nowadays. This is our life for the near future. And the coach is there, the buddy is there, and the player is there. The coach is encouraging them, saying, okay, we're going to do this drill. Let's kind of go through here. The buddy will walk the player through here. I'm going to be the player and the buddy at the same time. Very simple stuff that we're going to definitely do some overs, some unders, and some of the kids, it's a challenge for them to go under. So what do? We let them do whatever they want to do. If they want to go around, they go around. Some of the more high functioning kids, maybe they run backwards, or they will figure out a different way to do this, or there'll be a race between their buddy and their player. And we try to culminate this drill with at least shooting a goal. And you do have the buddies. Now, the reason I have the balls fairly close to the goal is we have buddies in there, and we don't want the buddies to get hammered with a rocket. So we do keep the ball a little close. And while we have buddies back there, the buddies are also bringing the balls back up and lining them up for us. So that's one drill. The next drill we have is another one of the running drills. And for this, we're really focusing on the side-to-side motion for these kiddos. And again, coach gets them going, but player and buddy can chase each other, or the buddy can help lead, or the buddy can, again, just, encourage them just to kind of go through. And this it's motion, and it's an understanding of their body. Have them spin around a little bit, do things that are a little challenging. Now, while they're doing this in line, their buddies are tasked with talking to the players. So we have a conversations going every time they're in the line. So you may have 5 or 6 people in line. They're at least doing their communications. Next player is going based on the coaches. Now, we also have some drills that are without a soccer ball, just for running and entertainment. And for the same premise, we have 2 lines set up here, just so we could have maybe athletes racing each other. Maybe the buddies are racing each other. Maybe the athlete and the buddy are racing. We're very open-minded, whatever they want to do. And we have rings and they're colored rings. So it's like, hey, Jim, grab the red ring or grab the yellow ring. And, maybe this time you can hold 2 rings. You can, hear of saying just kind of circle it on your hands. The kids will do what they can do.
And Mark, to point there as well, you don't want 20 kids waiting on one, right? So set up 2 or 3 lines so that it's, people are engaged with it, not just waiting around 10 minutes for their turn to go.
Correct. And again, buddies are at the end of the line, just encouraging them, and I missed the ring there, but you encourage them, you do some air high fives, you have some fun with it. But this is kind of that running aspect. And if they get bored doing this, it goes back to, maybe we do it backwards, maybe we run a little bit, maybe we hop through the rings, just different activities. Whatever kind of equipment you have, you can turn it into a fun game. Here we get into a little bit of kicking and dribbling. So I've got, a straight line set up for some of the players that may only be able to kick straight. And then I've got a curved one on the other side that if they want to do a little outside dribbling. So again, buddies and players, it could be a race, it could be just fun. And believe it or not, these tubes are really fun for kids to crawl under. Sometimes that's what they do. And hey, let's encourage it. Whatever they want to do is fine. And they get through there. Again, we have a little goal set up, have the buddies shoot, the scores, again, air high fives all along, and just keep the kids moving. And again, they're doing this for about 8 to 10 minutes, and you've got 7 or 8 kids that are in each line. You can keep these guys pretty active, and they're talking, they're playing with their buddies, they're communicating. The whole thing is they're having fun, and they're getting tired, so their parents are thrilled.
Thanks, Mark. Great stuff. I love it. We're going to continue on through some of the misperceptions.
Sure. Yeah, for the program, we do the same things. We have kids that have been with our program for almost 8 years now, and they're in their 20s, and we have no problem as long as it's a safe environment for the buddies and for the players. Let's bring them on. We start with the 5-year-olds because that's what we were told is we're allowed to go down to 5-year-old for this, for insurance reasons. And again, we still have some 20s. The bulk of the kids are probably going to be in your 8 to 14 range, at least in our program. But if people want to move up, and I have one 22-year-old that I've encouraged. They said, "Why don't you help me as a coach? We'll get them a coach shirt. You can help us do that part of the drill because they've been through the program and they know what they're doing out there."
Right. So officially, players can be as young as a recreational soccer player within FYSA, which at this point is 3 years old. While the recreational and competitive teams kind of max out at the U18, U19 level, where there is no upper age limit to TopSoccer.
Correct, and we love that aspect because again, some of our older kids are just a blast. And for us, we do organize them by age, and that's really for the safety for the most part. So we have the little kiddos that are between 5 and probably 7 and 8 years old. Then we move up to the 8 to 11, 12 years old, then 12 to 15 or so. And then the more advanced kids will be in the higher one. Now, one thing that we do is if some of the kids in the last 2 groups are savvy enough to play a game, we'll actually take the kids off the 3rd field and go move them into the 4th field to play a game. And if some of the kids in the 4th field are really not for playing, we move them back to the 3rd field when we have our official games at the end of the thing.
So those aren't hard and fast age requirements, right, Mark? You can be flexible in terms of what they're doing.
Yeah, we just we break it out so each field has about 20 people. That's our goal.
Okay.
Now, as for athletes assigned to specific teams, for us, that's assigned for specific fields. So if you're on this age group, we'd like to have you here just, again, for everybody's safety. And the coaches know you, the buddies in the field know you. There's familiarity throughout the season there.
But unlike the recreational program where you sign up, you're given, one of 3 or 4 teams and your color and your coach. Everything here happens all kind of on the same field at the same time. Week in, week out.
Correct. And one of the things we learned when we first started this, and the person that trained us came out of the BOC group, so we know we got the best trainer possible. And routine is number one in this. That's why when we do our drills, they're pretty much the same for each season. After a new season, we start with different drills, but it's the routine of this drill is always in this corner, this drill is always in this corner, and we do the same things. And you can touch it up a little bit with how do you do it? Do you run backwards? Do you run forwards? Do you do a somersault or whatever? But it's the routineness that is really good for these kiddos. That's where it comes down to, each day is run pretty much the same for the season. And the buddies understand that. At first they were like, oh, everybody, let's do something different this week. It's like, no, these kids like this. They need the routine. It's really good for them. How's that, Dave?
Great. All right. And the last bullet point there is just kind of an inside joke to indicate things are going to go wrong, right? You may have a practice plan set up. You may have, like Mark said, all your activities laid out that you want to do. Well, then an airplane goes overhead, or a flock of birds fly by, and everyone gets distracted, or maybe a rain shower comes by, and you just need to be able to not sweat the small stuff, adapt and improvise effectively, and make sure, again, safety, fun, and soccer is kind of the focus there.
No, it's a great point, because what if you have a child that says, I'm not going to do this drill, I'm going to be off to the side, as long as he's with his buddies, and maybe we just say, hey, grab a soccer ball, go do what you want to do, kick around a little bit, we make sure they're close enough we're all watching them. And then, slowly we encourage them to come back into it. But if that's their day and they want to sit down and talk more, this is what Top Soccer is about. Enjoy life, but just make sure you throw a soccer ball into it. Maybe they hand the soccer ball back and forth to each other. But it's the whole experience.
Great. Thanks, Mark. All right. So we're going to go ahead for a little more advanced topics, things that may be reminders, refreshers for more of the existing programs. I'm going to have committee member Jen Datilio talk first and foremost about our favorite subject, that being registration. So Jen, can you come off mute and go through the slide?
Sure. Can you guys hear me okay?
Sounds great.
Okay, great. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is when you register your Top Soccer players. Of course, there's no charge, but you always want to make sure you get those players registered, just like you would if they were comp or recreation. And the reason being that the insurance coverage is so important that you want to make sure that every season you're registering those players. You can do that in the current registration event. They can all be assigned to one team. There doesn't have to be multiple coaches in one team. You always want to register your volunteers, your buddies, and your coaches. The only thing you want to remember is if they are an existing coach or player, you do not code them as Top Soccer. That's super important. If they're a competitive coach or recreation coach, that comes first. Okay, Dave, you want to do the next slide for me?
Yep.
Okay.
So go ahead, Jen.
Okay, so Rosemary had put together quite a few years ago this recreation Top Soccer registration sheet. Registering Top Soccer player sheet, and it has a lot of how-tos on there. I have a copy of it. If someone needs it, Dave has a copy. We can get it from Rosemary. It's certainly a go-to for any registrar within a club. If you're in a club currently, more than likely you are not the person that's putting your registration into GotSoccer. So this is going to be more for the person that's doing that. But it's super important that they understand. So if you have a new registrar and you have a Top Soccer program, make sure that you're talking to them about making sure that everybody's registered properly. I missed one thing on the back slide, and that is your coaches will go in as team officials. Is that still the right way, Dave? Team officials? So
it
coaches
doesn't
for
really
Top
matter.
Soccer.
The background checks occur for both categories. There's no real difference.
Right. So everyone gets background checked just like they would if they were a recreation coach. And then I can't really see a whole lot on this slide, but if you guys have questions after the fact, we're certainly here to help you. And Rosemary is phenomenal at her job, and she knows everything there is to know about getting the Top Soccer players in, and she'll help you out tremendously. Okay. All right, this is a sample of what the GotSoccer program setup screen looks like. Not everyone would have access to this unless your club allows you to have that access. So this is what it's going to look like for the administrator or for the registrar, whoever's setting your program up in your GotSoccer system. Okay. Everyone has to do risk management that is a coach. So guys, keep that in mind. This is another screenshot of what the GotSoccer pages look like. There's all kinds of information that you can ask the parents if you're using GotSoccer for that registration form. It can be customized. If you're not using GotSoccer to register your players, you're doing it by paper, then this isn't going to be anything that your club is going to set up. I do prefer that people utilize GotSoccer to register their players. Is so much easier if you can just move the players right into a team. You're not uploading a spreadsheet. It's to me, it's more complicated to do the spreadsheet. It's worth a little bit extra money if your club is not using GotSoccer to do that. Dave, you circled something.
I circled the spot where it says register applicants as something from a drop-down menu, and that's where you pick tops. And
Okay.
that's how we know that these players are in the TopSoccer program, that the FYSA that will not charge your club the player fee based on record comp. That's very important to get set up.
Yeah, you want to make
correctly.
Yeah, if you do it incorrectly, you're going to be charged, and there's not a whole lot that can be done about that. So you want to make sure that first and foremost, you're not registering your rec or comp as tops, and you want to make sure that your tops aren't going as rec or comp, because that's happened to a couple of clubs in the past as well. So it's easier if you're able to use the GotSoccer program set up and do all your registration that way, then it's done and you don't have to worry about that button being messed around with. So, okay, we have another screen.
Yep. Oh, man, how do I get rid of that? Okay. I gotta erase all drawings. How about that? There we go.
So with your adult volunteers, and anyone over the age of 18, if I'm not mistaken, they're going to be required to do the CDC concussion course. In the past, we've been allowed to do that as a group training and then have them watch a video, take the test, and then you just do like a sign-in sheet, and there's a test form that gets turned in to Rosemary. There's also SafeSport. This is mandatory. There's no other way around it. You have to take SafeSport. SafeSport is mandated by the state of Florida, so we can't get rid of that. So every individual will take this online training course, which will just give you some little scenarios and walk you through if you haven't done it in the past. It's about I want to say it's 30, 45 minutes long, something like that. It's higher than that. Well, it's worth it, trust me. And you'll learn some things that you might not have known in the past. So it's for the safety of all of our kids, not just the kids on the field, but everybody. So it's good for us to have and make sure that we are safe for everybody.
Yeah, it's great training. Good point, Jen.
Yeah, the SafeSport training. I'm sorry if you don't mind me. It is federally mandated. It is a lengthy training. The latest one is up to 90 minutes. The fortunate thing is that once you do the full SafeSport training, as we call it, 1 year, the next year, and actually as we've just found out recently, the next year after that, they're just refresher courses. And those are the ones that are about 30 minutes long. So once you get the lengthy one out of the way, you'll have 2 refresher courses that'll be much simpler and much more streamlined. But yeah, there is absolutely no wiggle room on either of these. Fortunately, CDC, we can do group training, but SafeSport, that is also done in your GotSoccer coach account or a team official, where you go to submit the background check. There's also a link right there for your SafeSport training. And make sure that you're doing it out of GotSoccer. If you go to the SafeSport website or through any other venue, it is going to try to charge you for that training. But being US Soccer affiliates, we get it for free. So make sure that they're going through the portal for their GotSoccer account. And much like the players, like you mentioned, Jen, if you pay for it, it goes to the Center for Safe Sport, and there's nothing we can do about it. We can't get that fee refunded.
Great point, Joel. I just personally took my refresher course maybe 3 or 4 nights ago, and I was pleased to see that it was much shorter. And I took my original one 2 years ago. So you're right, it has lasted longer than I thought it would, but it was much shorter. But there's still tests, still asking questions, still involvement, and they show videos, and you have to interact with it. And again, very, very excellent training and good refreshers. So that's very good.
It continues to change and evolve, yeah. The Safe Sport Act. It has every year. So that one even took us a little by surprise, but it's a good thing that it's less involved now.
Great, thank you. Let me just pause a moment and ask Jared or Jonathan, are there any questions on the chat that we need to address at this point?
No questions. We have 2 comments. One from Dara, who said, "Love all the videos, Mark." So there you go, Mark. And then Ray Chassero, who said that Safe Sport is just 3 parts, 30 minutes each.
Great. Yep. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Okay. All right. Time for another poll question before we jump into the next content section. Jonathan, you can launch this as well. So we're trying to figure out the attendees, were you aware that FYSA has financial support for both new and existing TopSoccer programs? Simple no or yes answer. So this shouldn't take long. And Jonathan, feel free to close the poll whenever you choose and read out the results.
Dave, you might want to mention too the financial support stems from that drop down where you register the players as tops in GotSoccer.
Yep. Yep.
Sorry if I'm stealing thunder.
No, that's right.
We still got people voting, so I'll give it a couple more seconds. About 5 more seconds.
We need some Jeopardy music going on here. I'm not going to.
And I'll share the results here.
Okay.
So 88% yes and 13% no, as you can see there.
All right. Okay. We get some people to learn. All right. So the short answer is yes. We have FYSA financial support for both new TopSoccer programs and existing programs. So we'll start first with new TopSoccer programs. This financial support is approved on an annual basis through the board of directors as part of the FYSA budgeting process. Basically, it's reimbursement of up to $1,000 of equipment and supplies for a TopSoccer program. You don't get reimbursed until you have properly registered your participants, meaning your players and volunteers. So obviously that's kind of one of our hammers we have to make sure that's done properly is that you won't get your check, a reimbursement check, until we make sure that the registration is done properly. So for examples, for equipment, there's some of those pop-up goals that Mark used in his program. Mark didn't show, but parachutes are equipment that kids love, and you can work on upper body, you can work on coordination. Even kids in wheelchairs or with walkers can participate in that as well. So it's a great fun activity to do with the soccer ball. And also uniforms and trophies are also something that you can help offset the cost for with the grant funding. For existing TopSoccer programs, you also have financial support through a grant program. The majority of the grant funds in this program were as a result of a corporate donation. Long story, but anyway, the funds are running out, and it's ultimately, we may need to do some fundraising activities at the state level to replenish those funds. But again, similar to the new program, TopSoccer grants, you don't get reimbursed until you have properly registered your participants as well, players and volunteers. The amount of the reimbursement varies based on the size of the program. If you're like Mark Lowenberg and you've got 70 or 80 kids and you're Palm Beach Gardens program, or your Vic Nocera with over 100 kids, your expenses are going to be greater than, say, Lakeland FC, where they've got 15 to 20. And so we link the reimbursement and the grant amount based on the number of players you had the previous seasonal year. So what Bob mentioned earlier was, if you're not registering your players accurately, you will not then be able to get the accurate amount of grant funding based on the size of your program. Again, the utilization of the grant is similar. Equipment and supplies that can go for multiple seasons or that go directly to athletes or buddies. So again, please take advantage of these grants. Every year we have grant programs, and every year only a third to a half of the people eligible claim those grant funds. So hopefully, and what we're trying to do here is make sure that financial constraints are not holding back TopSoccer program growth. I don't want to hear that you can't afford to run TopSoccer, because we can help solve that problem. Certainly, we can't solve every problem, but financially, we will certainly help solve problems where we can. All right, I'm going to shift gears and pass the baton to Bob Stover. We'll talk about training and education.
Thanks, Dave. You hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so we do want to make sure, because not everybody has any experience working with a player or a young adult athlete, if you will, that has special needs. So we really want to make sure that people are prepared and educated and know what to expect. So we do have some courses available. They are available remotely or virtually, if you would. We're working towards, keeping everybody safe, but getting the information out there. And the coaching certificate course covers really a lot about the program, what to expect, and what to expect as you're working with these athletes on the field. And it's really good. And it does say they're optional field session afterwards, and it's preferred. I learned more in that one field session than I had in the training class itself and the course. So I think it's really important. The coaching course that is 3 hours with the optional field session, that is not required for all of your buddies or anything like that. That's just the people who are going to be running the program, the coaches, if you will, and the coordinator. So, and it's good. We'll come to you. We have people, as you could see in the earlier slides, all over the state. So we're happy to come to you. And when you do set up the host, we'll work with you if you want to host the event, and hopefully gather other people from other clubs there. So it's a fantastic session. Now the buddy course is roughly an hour, and this is just, we take the 3 hour course and give them what they really need, what to expect, and even talk about some scenarios, because my favorite distraction that you have to deal with is that somebody brings a dog. Might as well just pack it up then, because everybody's going to be focusing on the dog. But the other things that can happen, what to expect is we have some kids, I like to call them the runners. I am not the coach you want to put with the runner. You're young athletes, and I know people who put 2 or 3 or 4 buddies with the runner. It depends on how good of a runner they are, and you turn your back and poof, they're gone. And it's, you want to make sure your buddy's role, number one role, and the coach's role and the program coordinator is to keep everybody safe. And we walk you through some of those scenarios and what to do. And also some things to look for as you're working with the athletes that there are. In big, bold capital letters, you don't have to worry about using your grant funds or anything like that. There's no charge for either course, no charge for the session. We've done them on weekends. We've done them in an evening after hours. So we're happy to work. with you, and we don't ever want this to be a holdup from you getting a program started. We'll do everything we can to make it happen.
Great. Thanks, Bob. We appreciate that. Yeah, Florida's a geography where we can get to most of the area, pretty quickly. So we'll make sure that we'll find a convenient time. We'll get someone down to help train you in person if possible. And that field session is very important. All right. Any chat questions come through while we've been talking, Jared or Jonathan?
No questions. Dara did comment that an FYSA sponsorship package is coming. That'd be the only comment.
Fantastic. Okay. All right. So the final section of the of tonight's webinar talks about safety and COVID-19. As I say here, this issue, this important health issue, has really turned TopSoccer and all sports upside down. The last thing I would have thought a year ago or even 6 months ago is that I would be talking about this, but the reality is what the reality is, and so we need to address it and be thoughtful about it. I like to say, expect the unexpected. You may do everything right. You may have everyone in masks, gloved up, washing their hands, virtually everything right, and one of your participants may get positive test for COVID. Likely will not happen at your program. They've got lives every, this is an hour and a half out of their week. And but I like to say, prepare for the news that someone in your program will test positive. Have a plan in place. And as I'll talk later about communication will be key. If any of you have severe or strong or even strong enough reservations about doing the program and keeping your kids safe, it's okay to skip or postpone the upcoming season. We don't want you as organizers getting burnt out, getting overwhelmed, getting to feel the weight of the burden of all this. And we'd rather take a pause, push it out until the environment is safe for everybody. And the last thing we want to do is put you, at personal risk or concern. So we'll start with the minimums from a TopSoccer perspective, and these are minimums that permeate all of youth sports and all of youth soccer. Is first of all complying with all federal and local governments and safety requirements. So I'm reading more and more now with the uptick of cases in Florida. Many more municipalities are requiring masks inside and outside. So depending on your municipality, depending on when you're doing the program, you have to comply with them. Compliance with Florida youth soccer requirements for players and volunteers, including a new communicable disease waiver. Whoop, sorry about that, that's my dog. I would recommend you make that new waiver part of your registration process. So pretty point blank and upfront. That's a minimum requirement to participate in TopSoccer in Florida and in any soccer program in Florida through FYSA in the coming year. From a program precautions, again, with parents and players, communicate. Tell them what's going to happen. Tell them what to expect. Many of you who are more seasoned TopSoccer folks will heard the term social stories. Social stories are like little cartoons that help draw pictures for children, especially children with autism spectrum disorders, and lets them, mom and dad can show them their social stories in advance of going to the soccer field so they'll know what to expect. Also, tell them what's different this season from the past. Many of our players come in, year out, and they get used to that routine like Mark Lowenberg was talking about. They know what activities, they know what celebrations, they know that at the end of the day, they're gonna get a popsicle. Well, this fall, they will not get a popsicle at the end of the program. This fall, they will not be able to go to the Gatorade jug and fill Gatorade up like they ever used to in the program. So tell them what to expect. And if possible, again, provide players with their own equipment that they can take with them and take them home, bring it back. No sharing of that involved. We can make sure we can sanitize the soccer balls with wipes or spray. We can sanitize a water bottle. soccer balls, all that kind of stuff. But when you start sharing equipment, it becomes more and more risky. Buddies and coaches, again, over communicate. We are strongly advocating the use of parents or in-home caregivers as buddies. This does not get rid of the requirement to wear a mask, but I think it will be much more familiar and much easier to manage that interaction between a player and a buddy, and not worry about keeping that 6-foot social distance, because these are people who are together every other hour of the day, every hour of the week. I'm fine with a parent and their child as their athlete being close together. They can give each other a high five if they would want to, or hug them or whatever. Also, if there's an issue with the player, the parent or the caregiver will know what to do and how to get them away from the activity to address that issue. From an equipment perspective, again, it's very important that you sanitize all equipment before and after each week. Likely many of you are using soccer goals or cones or those the things that Mark showed in his video. Before every practice and after every practice, get your COVID-19 ready Lysol spray and use some towels or paper towels and wipe it down again before and after each week. And then you put it away, and then the next week you get out there, set it up, wipe it down again. Again, no sharing of balls, water bottles, pennies, that kind of stuff. Again, buddies and coaches are going to be wearing masks. I am not anticipating the players to wear a mask. Again, watch for further communication as we get closer to your season. But as of right now in Florida, players do not need to wear a mask because they're the ones in the activity. However, when they go off the field and they're going back to their parents at a water break or before and after, we want their parents to have a mask ready for them to go. I'm also going to encourage that you get a parent volunteer as a field marshal who can walk around with Kleenex to help blow in noses, sanitizer, hand sanitizer, and watching for social distancing kind of violations. So I chuckle, but it's pretty serious business in that regard as well. From an activity perspective, and you heard Mark talk earlier about the activities. Try to avoid games where they have to tag hands and relay races where they're touching. We are strongly recommending no scrimmages this upcoming season. It's extremely hard to maintain social distancing when you've got a scrimmage going on. That's just not going to happen. So I know on my program, we will not do scrimmages. We will do the activities. We will always end where, at my program, we end where everyone scores a goal. So they will line up and shoot a ball on goal and make them celebrate that. But the scrimmages will be, foregone for the next season. Again, keeping the distance, discouraging use of the hands, finding new ways to celebrate, and if the parents are on the sideline or parents on the sideline, try to have them pretty close to where their child is playing. Typically, we have parents along one sideline in my program, and with social distancing, that's not going to be able to happen. So they'll then have to move around the entire perimeter of the field that we use. And that's fine. I've got no problem with that. It's all safe. It still gets them spaced out and what they can do. Organizationally, when you have sign-ins each week, make sure, and you may already be signing in your players or volunteers to keep attendance, but you're going to need to get the names and sign in all the names of all the parents who are there as well, which for me will be a change in procedure from what we've done in the past. Because if you hear word of a positive COVID-19 test brought to your attention, you're going to want to make sure that you've got a complete roster of people that you can quickly email out a notice to that, hey, there has been a positive test of someone who's participated in the program. So that's pretty important. Confirm the email addresses, and then each week there'll be a verbal questionnaire of health and safety. And again, we'll help provide guidance with you for that to get the right questions into your hands as much as possible. One of the questions will likely be about them having a temperature, and it was suggested that organizers take the temperature of the attendees, but we're a little bit concerned about liability for that. It's okay if you provide a thermometer gun for a parent to use on their child to scan them from a distance, but we don't want administrators or coordinators or coaches taking temperatures of their players or athletes. All right. And then finally, again, on the sideline, to space people out. If you need to put cones down or markings or spray paint, that's fine. Just keep the distance. And like I said before, have parents bring a mask for their child as well. From a resources perspective, there's a number of really good resources that you can utilize to review. The first of which is a USU soccer best practices list specific to TopSoccer. So there's the link. I will email out that document to everybody, all my club contacts at the in the next day or two. But that on pages 5 and 6 of a longer document has best practices for TopSoccer. Following that, there's also a USYS TopSoccer kind of COVID-friendly activities. And there's about a half dozen to 10 activities drawn out, just like the one there, that sample in front of you, that talks about here's an activity, here's a game, here's how you adapt it to make it easier or harder. Here are some things you need to do that can account for and accommodate different impairments. And again, those are great activities to use. And like I said, I'll be passing them out as well. And then finally, this just came to my attention yesterday. And believe me, there's new information and new reports coming out on a daily, if not hourly basis. But this came to my attention from the Aspen Institute. And it's basically things that your parents might be thinking about as they make a decision whether or not their child will participate in TopSoccer in the coming season or any sport. And so think about, go through these questions, these 8 questions with you and your other committee members and organizers of a local program, just to make sure that you've put yourself in their shoes if you're not already in their shoes. And it's important to think about those kind of things. So with that, let me just pause a minute to check for questions or chat comments. Anything out there, Jonathan or Jared?
One question for Pete DiBernardo he was just confirming that buddies that are over 18 will need to take the safe sport. I don't know if you guys want to reiterate that, but
yes, yep, they're considered volunteers. We did confirm though that if it's a parent buddy, so again, we are highly recommending parents be buddies. They do not need to do the CDC concussion or the safe sport because they're basically at a parent role and stepping onto the field from the sideline. So that's not a problem. All right. Final poll question. So when I was meeting with the committee earlier this year, we were trying to figure out what topics we should try to present at the AGM. And typically we are presenting these topics at the AGM in person in Orlando. Well, with this year's AGM going virtual, we don't have the opportunity to do that. But there's nothing that prevents us from doing similar webinars on focused topics. So please take a moment to go through the 5 options here of things that we could be presenting, and let me know if any of them are of interest to you. I cannot see the answers, but again, we'll rely on Jonathan to provide me and tally up the results so I can get back with the committee and we can talk about planning separate one-off webinars, whether they're Zooms or GoToMeetings or what have you, to talk about these kind of issues that help you be more successful and grow your TopSoccer program or start a new program if that may be the case. So
we do need a few more people to vote. We're only about 60% right now.
Okay.
We do have a question out there, though. The question from Johnny Al-Shabibi is, will parents be required to wear a mask if helping on the field, on the sideline? Or I guess there's 2 questions, on the field or on the sideline.
Parents will wear masks on the sidelines and if they are their child's buddy, yes.
Okay.
There's a good chance, Tony, that the parent may need to intervene with another player, and just to be safe, we're gonna have all the coaches and all the buddies wearing masks.
I'll go ahead and close the voting down in
good
5 seconds. So
I
there
don't
the
need
results on.
right this moment, Jonathan, but we'll just get them to me offline, and I'll review with the committee. But that'd be great. And like I said, if anyone has any questions about these issues offline, it doesn't take a webinar to get help in these areas. Myself, Mark, Vic, Scott, Jen, Bob, Joel can all help you with these issues. Just pick up the phone, send an email. We're happy to help and to do it. And again, that coaching certificate course, we'd love to get more coaches trained in Florida. So, all right, thank you. So watch your email for follow-up webinar sessions. That info, there's a typo there. It should say the 2020-2021 grant program. That's the next seasonal year. And then additional guidance on COVID-19. It's really a dynamic environment. Things are happening, changing, constantly. I will do my best to distill a lot of the information out there and get it out to everybody as best as I can. And we'll go from there. And then finally, I think we're on time here. Good. Open over. Thank you. Thank you all for attending. Thanks for all you do for the TopSoccer community in Florida. It has really been a privilege and an honor to serve as the committee chair all these years. And long story short is I'm looking forward to sticking with my local program and supporting somebody else with the committee, but I'm not going anywhere. So if you need anything, please let me know. So Jared, any final housekeeping to close things up?
I do have one hand raised here from a Michael Barber. I can unmute.
Mike Barberi from Sunrise, Florida. You are now on the mic, on the clock. I know you're going to ask a good question, Michael.
Michael, you are self-muted, so you have to go in and unmute yourself in order to. There you go.
Is that better? Can you hear me now?
Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
I did buy Gatorade and stuff like that, and with the water coolers, I wanted to find out if I can just designate one person and use paper cups for the water breaks and for the Gatorade breaks instead of going out and, I did go out and buy 250 masks. I bought 100 hand sanitizers to give to every player. Vic said he got some balls for me. I'm thinking about giving every player a ball to bring back and forth with them to every event. This way, they're the only ones that touch it.
Yeah, no, the balls are a great idea, Michael. I'm just really nervous. I would advise against any kind of well, I mean, I suppose you could. I don't know. There's so many,
there's so much nuance and there's so many small little things involved in this COVID crisis. I would echo the same thing as Dave there, that I would recommend against it. I truly would encourage these athletes to bring their own water and Gatorade. Truly, you should be able to use it in future seasons. That being said, there's going to be a lot of gray area. I don't think that we're going to be, as an association out there, looking for people distributing Gatorade, but to us, that seems like it's still too soon for that. So we would certainly recommend against that.
If you had an ice bucket full of Gatorade bottles, okay, I'd feel better about that. But again, you're providing a great program to your community. I know you want to give these kids all that they deserve, and I'm totally with you on that. But I think in the short term, we've got to really err on the side of caution. I just hate to see something come back. So just be safe.
Well, that's what I was wondering why I put my question up. I just wanted to see whether it was worth buying bottles of water and putting them in separate buckets on ice, or, but if you say just to have
at my program every year, I've got two big, large, 10-gallon Gatorade jugs. One's got water, one's got Gatorade powder mixed into it. That's how I run it. And you know what? I'm not going to do it this year. I'm not. I get water donated from a local distributor of bottled water. I've always done that. I'm not going to do it this year.
All right, so
I give my kids water bottles every year that they can use in the water jugs. I will still give them a water bottle to use, the entire season, but they will be required to fill it at home, bring it full, and then drink out of it. Yeah.
Not a problem. I can
All right,
always
thanks.
put the jugs on hold. Thank you,
All right,
Dave.
great. Yeah, you're welcome. Anytime. All right. Thanks everybody for joining again. Joel, Jared, Jonathan, thank you for your support at the state office. We really appreciate it. Go ahead.
I got one more comment from Dara here. He just wanted to pass along his thanks to you guys. It says, Dave, Mark, Jennifer, and Bob, so well done. Thank you for all you do for Top Soccer in our state. Tremendous program.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to echo the same. The work that you guys do as a committee here is just unbelievable. Having seen what Top Soccer is here compared to, various other states in the region, everybody who's listening on the phone, these guys are truly the experts out there. So, Dave, thank you for your knowledge over the years, and good luck at the national level.
Thank you. All right.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Dave. God bless.
Bye, Dave.
Everybody be safe.
You too, Mike.